Yeah. So now this session is the last session. It's about financial management and growing wealth. I know so many of us enjoy money. You know, there are so many people who say money does not bring happiness until you cannot pay your bills at the end of the month. So that is why we want to get into this session. So my husband, this is my husband, Apollo Musana. And the reason why we specifically chose him is because out of so many people, many of you are very good with money, but I think he's one of those people who are really good with money. How to manage it and how to make it, manage it, and also grow it. So we felt that it would be really important for him to share his wisdom and knowledge with us today about finances, especially for all those of us who are living here, because there are principles that apply to so many different other people living from all parts of the world. I know Americans are really good with marketing, financial strategies, but sometimes they talk about things and you still cannot relate. So that's why it's important that the people that live here, that work here, that have grown their finance, grown their wealth here, should be able to speak to us. And also, we are going to have a time of Q&A. But also, if something comes up, a question comes up, or an input comes up, you can raise your hand and you can give us some input as he's going to do what he does best. Yeah, so can you say hi to the people and then we...
Okay, hello, thank you for coming. Thank you for spending your Saturday with us, and I'm humbled. My name's Apollo Musana. When I got the invitation or the suggestion that I should come and speak about money, financial management, the first question that came to mind was like, why me? Why me? You know, why should I come and speak about money? But then I thought about myself. You know, I looked at the panel and I thought about myself. I'm like, really? But then I thought hard. I thought about what I value. And then I said, maybe it's not so weird that I should be the person to talk about financial management. Because, first of all, I've lived here for close to 28 years. So I left Uganda at the end of 1996. So I came here as a young boy.
How many of you were not yet born by then? So I know I was not yet born.
96? No, oh, it's a joke, sorry.
You're trying to tell people my age.
So I have a story. So I thought maybe I have a story to tell, and that story relates to finances. So I've lived in Uganda, the economy in Uganda. I've lived within it. I lived in Denmark. I've also lived in England for a period of almost 2 years, and finally I got to move to Sweden, where I've stayed for the last 17 years. So I've been in 3-4 economies, and that is my specific story. But I'm also a dad to 4 children, and I'm a husband to this wonderful person here, your pastor, Habiba Kavenge Musana. And you know, the way I don't know if people connect politics with business. Everyone wants to become a politician because the government has a bag of money that everyone wants to get close to. So government is, in most countries, a government is the biggest business in that country. So everyone wants to get close to that business. But I also thought, family is also a business. Family is a kind of business. If you are alone, that's good. But once you get a family, you have to relate to what money is. And so I've been a family person. The last, I think our youngest is 15. No, the oldest. Sorry, the oldest is 15. I've been a father for the last 15 years. So I know a thing or two about money. So I think that qualifies me to be here giving you this talk.
Yeah.
That is my introduction of myself. But wealth, I think money, the end goal of money is wealth, wealth creation. It's very important. I put the two gentlemen up there. One is called Amos Wilson. People have different phases in their lives, and some of the people that have affected my way of looking at wealth. These two people, the one on the left-hand side, Marcus Garvey, he said that the only thing that satisfies man is power. I think that wealth is a form of empowerment, and the word power is in empowerment. So there is a satisfaction that you get from having wealth, and it's worth working towards. This other guy, Amos Wilson, he talks about wealth as well. Let me see the quote. Where did I put the quote? But anyways, I put his picture there. He has a lot of literature, a few books that he has. Those two are not with us anymore. But he talks about power being very important in the life of people, and so please, wealth is everything. And thank you for coming here to listen to what wealth is. It's a form of power, and you need it. Most of us, we left our countries. Someone, I think, I don't know, I think Nelson, you emphasized a lot studying the labor market. We left our countries because money. So money it relates to power and wealth.
So if I may ask you, I know we are talking about money, but why is it important for us as Africans who are in the diaspora? Why is it so important for us to make wealth? And these are two different things. Being rich and being wealthy are completely two different things. So today we are not talking about how to get rich. No, today we are talking about how to create wealth, because for us who are Christians, that is what the Bible requires us to do. The Bible helps us to create wealth that lasts generations and generations. So why is it important for us who live here to create wealth? Before we get into the ways that we can create wealth and how we can grow our money and how we can invest it.
Okay. I think the definition here that so far I've given of wealth is more political, but more specifically, the difference between money and wealth. Money or an income is you have to it's tied to your time. You have to be at work to get an income, a salary. Wealth, on the other hand, even when you're sleeping, money is coming in. So you, in a way, you are becoming independent of your job. Jobs are very important, but as I always say, hold on to your job, but in the meantime, plan to become independent of your job. COVID-19 taught us a lot. I saw people lose their jobs, and I think it made them think differently towards jobs. So a lot, I think, even with Uganda, I saw people leaving their school jobs and going and doing farming. So wealth is very important. In that sense, it reminds you that your job is important, but you need to actually keep yourself aware of the importance of not depending on others for your lifestyle or your living.
Thank you so much. And as you have defined to us what wealth is and how important it is for us to create wealth, in your experience, I've watched you grow from being a man who's does not have financial freedom, who is very stressed about money, as so many people are, and I've watched you grow your money into assets and into so many different things, and you've grown. Of course, you're still on that journey, but how have you been able to put to connect your job, for example, and what you're doing to now being on the journey of creating wealth that is going to last generations and generations? So what are those things that you have done? You usually call them the financial IQs, or I don't, yeah. So what are those things that you can share with us?
Okay, because wealth is very important. When I was first asked to come and give a presentation on wealth here, I looked at my background knowledge, the things that I know, and I said, okay, which book do I can I look at and get some answers for all of us as a community. And Kiyosaki, I think it's called Robert Kiyosaki. He has a book. He has a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah.
He also has a book. It's called How to Increase Your Financial IQ. And in there, it talks about 5 financial IQs. I think in the PowerPoint I put 3 of them. The last 2 I left out. I'm not sure, but yeah, this one here. That's the man. Many of you have seen him. The book is on the other side. Financial IQ. I included this one as well, and then that quadrant is very popular. Many of you maybe have seen it before. I don't know if everyone can read what the quadrant is saying. The quadrant says the E says employee, you have a job, then you can be self-employed, you own a job. You have a job here, but here you own, so you feel like now you own your job. Now you own your job. But then it suggests how can you become become a business owner or become an investor. So most of us normally here, then we move here, then we try here. Sometimes the business doesn't work, you go back here and maybe end up there. But the goal should be that you come from this side to this side. If you really want to build wealth, these 2 things, and ultimately I think this one, you don't have to do anything, but these 2 things, become a business owner and an investor. We as a family, I think everyone invests differently, but I'll get back to that, and I skipped the reasons why wealth is very important. The reasons are freedom. One of the reasons why we are here as Africans is because we are not financially free in our countries. Financial freedom is for the very few in many of our countries. People in government, they are financially free, and then they wonder why we live I have friends who are connected to people in government. They always ask me when I'm back in Uganda, why do you have to live in, what do you do in Sweden? Why do you have to go and stay there? You know, of course they are doing well. They are financially free, but most of us, we are not. So when you have wealth, you are going to be financially free. What does financially free mean? It means that you, for your shelter and food, those things can be taken care of without you having to go to work. You have, you are financially free in that sense. That means you can continue working, but you don't necessarily have to go and work. And the only way you can be able to be financially free in that sense, you have to have built some form of wealth. Something that gives you money while you're not at work, physically present. And these things sound new, but I promise you there are many quiet Swedes who live like this. They come to jobs just to socialize. You come to job because you have to work. If you don't work, you won't survive. Literally, people will die back home if you don't send them money. For them, they just come to socialize. They have, maybe they've inherited a lot of money, so they don't need to work. They just come to socialize, because of course work is not just money. You connect with people. You feel that you're part of something bigger than yourself. So it's not just money. So you see some of us Swedish brothers and sisters, even in my case, I work in Denmark, so they come, the way they talk to the boss, they're like, hey, man, if I talk like that, I won't have a job. So you're like, someone talked about know your rights. My friends, the rights are on paper here, but if you follow them, you might end up not having a job. So please know where you belong. When you have some wealth, then maybe you can shout and say, hey, boss, don't do like this. But until then, so get yourself some wealth. It will give you freedom to be yourself. By the way, wealth will help you. All these other things, I put progress because wealth will give you time to focus on yourself. Some of us, I did a bachelor's degree in pharmacy, but that's not what I'm doing. That's not what I'm doing. I've said, okay, I'm not a pharmacist, but I can focus on some other things that maybe perhaps when I get where I want to be, I can go back. You know, for status, wealth, and what's the other thing? People focus a lot on status. You know, a doctor in Cuba gets so little money. They have status, but they don't have money. So wealth supersedes status and income. Some of us are chasing income, chasing status, and they don't focus on the wealth. So please, whatever it is you're getting, whether you're getting an income, whether you have status, the direction has to be build wealth, because it earns you all these things. It earns you freedom. I wrote something here. You won't have money problems. Any problem you have, that the rent. I used to worry, Annie, when we're in Lindegen, I used to worry about I think around 10th, 15th, the bills start coming in. You worry. You don't even want to you don't even want to open the envelope. And we would argue as if that will pay the bill. We would argue a lot. So please, money problems, wealth solves money problems, and many of us, especially this community, Africans, you know, you can try and fail. You can have Sweden. I've grown up here. I've seen Danes, mostly Denmark. I've seen Danes, they take drugs when they're teenagers. So you're like, oh, you also take drugs. And then you meet 10 years later, this guy is ahead of some bank somewhere. You're still stuck in drugs. Because again, maybe because of the background, they can afford to make mistakes and make a comeback. Because they come from a place where they've inherited something. Please, if you've not inherited something, stay focused. Please. So that is freedom. The freedom to try and fail if you have wealth. But remember, most of us, we don't have it. So, but it's worth fighting for. Me, as personally, I'm still fighting for it. I'm not there. I think I'm not a finished product. I'm still going. But the why, this is the why of my talk today. Why is wealth important? Think about security. Security from poverty. You know, when you're young, you don't know that you're poor. And it's okay. But the moment you start growing up, then you start comparing. You see the kids and especially now it's everyone is on TikTok, YouTube. You can see how people are in Sweden, in Denmark. You start comparing. Now you realize you're poor. So please, let's try to think about wealth because it keeps us away from poverty. In fact, in Uganda, they have a saying that, what's that saying? That poverty is a lion. Do all you can do to run away from that lion. Poverty will eat you. It will eat you for lunch. So, physical harm. People that have, some of our countries in Africa, you have issues of insecurity. I put it under security. When you have money, there's a way you can move your family around. If there's insecurity here in this village, you move to a more secure village. If there's insecurity in the country, you move to a more secure country. And by the way, recently I got my Swedish citizenship. So if you have wealth,
insecurity in Denmark,
you come to Sweden. Now I see wealthy people moving to Dubai. Yeah. If there's insecurity in Dubai, they can move to another country. So wealth can put you in a position where you're not tied to geography. You can just move from one place to the next. And then, of course, psychological harm, social. We talk about racism. When you're poor, you meet a lot of problems. Among them, most of us, I think I would say we are broke, but we are not poor because poor is a bad word. Someone who is broke can work themselves away from out of the brokenness, but poverty. Yeah. But anyways, if you're wealthy, there's a way wealth protects you from some things. Things like racism. You can create spaces. You talked about, Letitia, you talked about wanting to be promoted. And then there's a ceiling. You have your confidence. You're like, I want that job. But then they give it to someone else. Yeah. But when you have wealth, I think it gives you an opportunity to create your own space. And then you can create... exactly. Yeah. And then you move up your own hierarchy. Yeah. So wealth creates comfort. Some of us drive bad cars, not because we want them, but because we know we haven't gotten there yet. You look behind and you say, my wealth level is still there, so I won't start driving a Tesla. Maybe I should wait on the Mercedes. Maybe because I've not gotten to that comfort. But we live also in countries where even before you get to that level, they can say you can afford it. So you get a Mercedes or whatever, Tesla or on a loan. And that, you're trying to earn comfort that you haven't really earned yet. And then it gets you in trouble. Build wealth. you can get true comfort. And then progress. Progress, personal progress. I think I always say children and wealthy people have this thing in common. When you are a child, you don't think about when you are a child, you don't think about you don't worry about money issues or the cost of things. So you focus on developing yourself. Children, they fall, they walk, they start running. They have so many dreams. They ask you, what do you want to be?
Pilot.
A pilot. You don't worry. But then when you grow up, you start seeing that, okay, I can't be a pilot maybe because of this and this. But anyways, so you're wealthy. When you're wealthy, you can push yourself. Personally, let me say this. I still want to finish my pharmacy, master's degree. But, I've made up my mind and said, some things, is sacrifice a good word to use, honey? I've said, as because of this, that thing has to wait. Because we have 4 kids. And then
We also have goals. So.
we have also goals, of course. But then you say, okay, now it's family time. Personal progress will come later. But of course, even building wealth, that process is also personal progress. But it becomes much easier to improve yourself if you have wealth, because some things that lead to personal development, they don't put money on the account. And if you have a family and you're like, if I do this thing, it won't put money on the account here and now. It's a tough decision. So sometimes you have to let some of those things go. But when you develop some form of wealth, those things are going to come back. And wealth, of course, is for the family, for the local community. There's a lot we could do for each other if many of us were wealthy. A lot. If you look at the Arab community, you look at Asian communities, they do a lot. They own businesses because they're already wealthy.
That's true.
Some of us, we are first generation immigrants. Those people have been here for like 50, 60 years. So they've built a certain level of wealth that we Africans, because we are the latest ones, we haven't had the number of generations that are necessary to build a sufficient amount of wealth to develop these businesses. But it's coming.
It's funny because
It's coming.
There's a saying, honey, sorry to interrupt you. There's a saying in my language, I'll interpret it, that in Uganda they say, abagaga kwagalana, abavu kwewalana. So what he's saying when it comes to community, that the rich people, for them, they work together. They love each other. Even if they don't love each other, but they work together because business has to, go on. But if you are poor, you get stuck into really not liking each other. You're always speaking out on the negative things that you have. So these communities don't have that. But if I just want us, this PowerPoint will be available for you. They'll share it. Because of time, I want us to fast forward into the next things. And I just want you to tell us about how before you got to the level where you don't now have to worry about paying your rent or buying food or anything. You started at a level of saving. And can you tell us what you did to jumpstart your savings? And how did those savings now turn into a certain level of amount of money where now you could become an investor? Can you tell us about that?
Okay, initially, by the way, we had an argument.
Today, then.
Yeah, we had an argument then, not today. But I think when we first moved to Triangle, where the girls were very young. That is 8, 9 years ago. So Ashley must have been like 7. Abigail was 5. Yeah. We had a very big room, and it was empty. So I'm like, honey, we are trying to save, and we have an empty room. This is things that rich people do, but we are not rich. Can we put someone in there? She's like, no. So I couldn't put a man there because we have girls. So I told my wife that, okay, let's bring a lady. She can stay in this room. We will boost our savings. She was like, no. She'll spoil my marriage. But I'm like, But I told her, honey, this is 5,000 kronas per month times 12. That is 60,000 kronas a year we are throwing out of the window as if we are rich. We had an argument. I thought about it. And then I'm like, I came back to her and I was very, very, very unhappy, to put it mildly. I'm like, that is your opinion, but this is what we have to do. because you go and work, then at the end of the month, all your money is gone. You have to stop. You have to have savings in order to invest, and the savings were not coming. And I'm like, this is 60,000 a year, and we're throwing it away. Please, doesn't it make sense? Then she was like, do as you want. So the girl came in. She was a French girl, and she was doing a PhD in bio something. I don't remember. But anyway, she was very nice. She would stay in her own room. The girls liked her, and she kept to herself, and she would pay on time. And our savings just went up, and we started investing differently. Then I was part of a group. The group that pushed us, and then we started investing. But anyways, I hope I've answered some part of your question.
Yeah, I think what it's interesting, because I remember we had friends and we went and talked to them. Can we create a group so that we can start putting money aside? We started with very little money. We said, okay, we can put just 2,500 kronas aside. Every couple puts 2,500 kronas aside. And they were so excited. And then all of a sudden, like Africans do, they got stuck on who is getting money first. Like, who's receiving the money first? And then me and my husband told them, for us, we don't care. We can be the last. You can be the first. And then they got stuck to, we have to do a contract because I don't want this one to steal from me and that one, which is right. But then we got very frustrated. He got very frustrated and said, you know what, we have to do it on our own. But then he has a Nigerian friend, and this is what is interesting. He found out that these Nigerians in Denmark, they were saving 10,000 Danish kroners a month in the group. They were like a group of 10. And then he joined that group, which means now he had to continue working more so that he can be able to get that 10,000, including our bills and other things. And that is what jump-started our savings, because it's moved from 5,000 to 10,000 and then higher. But it started with a group. And now we got to a point where we don't need the group because we have mastered the saving and the discipline that comes into saving. Important. Now we are not, I don't think, are we part of any group? We are not part of any group.
We are not, but we are.
In a sense, yeah.
Undercover, we are not. Now we are, but not really. But yeah.
So I think that is what people can learn from that is the discipline of actually putting money aside in the beginning. Because the wealth becomes such a big dream that is unattainable if you cannot see the small steps that you can make before you get there. So for us, we started with 5,000 and then 10,000. I can't say what we save now for safety purposes, but yeah.
But anyways, the five IQs. Can you go back to the kind? Is it Uncle Richard? Can you go back to the? Yeah, exactly. You make money, but that's not enough. Making money and losing it is not a good thing. So you make money, you have to protect it, and after you protect it, that means you have it. You have to budget for it, and after. Then, of course, the last 2 points, you leverage it and then improve your ideas about money. The first point, can you go to the next slide, Uncle Richard? For my sake, I've had to increase the number of shifts, sadly.
You increase the income.
Yeah. You either upgrade your skills. Some people upgrade their skills to increase their amount of money. Some of us increase the number of shifts. Others, you negotiate with your boss. Musumba Jeff, you usually talk about taking extra courses and then negotiate with your boss to get a raise. Yeah. So you make more money yeah. Exactly. How do you protect your money? As long as you have a job, I promise you, in these countries, you're not protect your money. A lot of your money goes into taxes. I currently pay 45% in taxes. So if you have a job, I don't know if this guy owns Tesla. What is this? Elon Musk. I don't think he has a job. Yes? Exactly.
So he says that he's volunteering. That's what rich people, wealthy people say.
If you have a job, please always have in the back of your mind a plan of running away from the job. Because look, maybe if you're a bank director, you earn millions, but if they're taking half of your money, please find a way to get away from that job. Long term, please, long term. Jobs are important because they get you somewhere. I have a job, we all have jobs, they are getting you somewhere. It is a means. Brokers, if you're into real estate, if you're buying apartments to sleep in or to rent out, it's good that you understand the business around apartments, because if you're using brokers, they'll take your money. So try to understand whatever it is you're trying to invest your money in, and lifestyle, inflation, people. So you get a raise from the boss, you get a new TV, upgrade a new car. Now you don't want the old car, and that steals your money. That steals your money. You wonder, I got a raise, but we are not moving forward. Because your raise has gone to cars, television. Those things don't bring back money. Assets at all times. If something is not giving you money monthly or quarterly, I don't know. If it's not giving you money, it's not a good. It is a liability. So a new TV, a new that keeps you in the same place. So your money has gone up, but you're still in the same place, and you're like, of course, your lifestyle, it creeps on you. Silently, it takes away what you've gotten as a raise. It goes. And even families, family members and friends.
From Africa.
When someone passes away, if they don't have something arranged properly, you see people coming and crying at burials, and then they start stealing from the deceased. So please, I think trust funds are very good. We haven't created one, but think along those lines. If you have children, protect them, have trust funds. I work with people, and I've worked with a few people whose parents have left funds, trust funds for them, and they get money. because of those trust funds. The government, I don't think the government has taken a lot of it, but have trust funds for your children just in case you're not here anymore. Because I promise you, you know, we come from African countries. If God forbid, if our to pass away, and all our wealth was in Uganda, they will come and say, but she's a woman, la 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 la.
Not me.
Take away everything.
I will fight.
Take away everything. Though that is family. That is your dad, your mom. They'll try to override your wife, or maybe if it was you, but in most cases they'll be on the husband's side. Yeah, and the woman is like business partners. If you have a business partner, you've tried a business with someone, and then you started earning, and then she was like. So please have an exit plan if you have a business partner, because they might do certain things. Protect your money in that sense. IQ number 3, increase your income. I think I talked about these. All these things are connected. So I might be repeating myself. So I'm very sorry for that. But sometimes repeating drives the point at home. Increase your income. Work where you can. In my industry, I'm so lucky. In my industry, you can work 24/7. So study the labor market. In my industry, there's a day shift, there's a night shift, there's a day shift, evening, night shift. The business is open 24/7. That's an advantage. The salaries might be low, but little by little becomes a lot. So you can leverage that. So increase your income. Can you go slightly back?
With increasing your income, I always tell people when I'm preaching that when you are young and maybe you don't have a family or you have one child, for example, as a man, you have no business having just one job. You are alone. You don't have a family here. You have one job. You work from 8 to 4. You go back and you watch Netflix. You have no business doing that. Get another job so that you can be occupied. Also increasing the income, which is going to increase your savings, and then increasing your investments, and then it increases your profit.
Uncle Bunjo. He's working on that. Because like Musumba Jeff, you talked about, sometimes we have to work a lot and sacrifice being with our families. I think if I were to take reverse time, I think I could have worked a lot more before I had a family. Yeah. Because if you can work a lot, then you will have time for your family. So, increase your income. And then, ironically, increasing your expenses can be a good thing. Two expenses are very important. If you own a business, the expense that is important to increase is promotion and marketing. If your business is doing, let's take this church, for instance. Churches are businesses. Churches are businesses. You could actually work on marketing or promoting your church slightly more if you want to really, really grow that. But then it's an expense. Short term, it hurts, but long term could make wonders. So increase your expenses in that sense.
What expense can you give us as an example?
I'll give you
to do in order to increase your.
My expense as paying yourself first. Most of us, when you get your salary, the first thing you think, pay rent, pay these bills, phone bills, for us, in our case, the children, the expenses with the children's school. But then you forget the most important expense is paying yourself first. Paying yourself first. That grows your. In fact, if you can pay yourself, okay, rent is important because they will throw you out if you don't pay. So please, pay. If you could pay yourself first and then fix the rent.
First.
Oh, Okay, that one too. That one too. That one too. But if yeah, you're paying yourself, that is an expense, but is a good one, because if you've covered that and then you haven't covered others, then you have to go out and find that money. And if you develop that discipline of paying yourself first, and then forcing yourself to go and look for money to pay others, I mean, it would work. So paying yourself first, that it will grow your savings and ultimately your investments.
So paying yourself is the savings he's talking about.
Yeah.
You don't pay yourself to spend it.
Yeah, by the way,
Paying
no.
yourself-
That's why it's an expense.
Yeah.
It's an expense.
You pay yourself. Your savings are your salary as an individual, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I read a book that says that until you can save 75% of your income, you're not wealthy.
Exactly. More apparently, lots of wealthy people they
Yeah.
save between 50 and 100%
100%.
of their salary.
So we have to work towards that.
Oh.
If you are only saving 10% or 5%, it's hard to grow wealth, because when you invest, the money really does not grow so much. You also get discouraged. But the higher your savings are, the higher the investments, and then the returns become big, and then you are encouraged more. You get excited when that happens.
Yeah, that is very true. I think as far as investments are concerned, and it adds to us. Let me say this. I think salaries are very important, but if you can get to a place where all your income comes from investments, that would be very wonderful. And it's a worthwhile goal to work towards.
Amen. So, because of time, I want you to talk to us about one of the investments that you and I are. One of the things that you and I are putting our money in, how we are able to grow, or we've been able to invest. Yeah. And that is, I think you and I have chosen to invest in government bonds. So I want my husband to explain to you how that is one of the ways you can invest your money. Some of you go back to Africa and build apartments, or you do different businesses, farming, open up a business, something like that. And some of us who live in the diaspora, sometimes it's hard to really manage those things because they steal from you. It's there. Okay. Not there. So one of the things that my husband and I have decided after losing so much money in property, actually property makes money, so we are not discouraging that, invest in property. But I want him to talk to you about government bonds. He has tried to invest in government bonds in Denmark, and also, but now we are doing Uganda, and this is how it works, and he's going to compare how it works. If you can explain what government bonds are first. How many of you know what government bonds are? So not so many of us, right?
I asked Chat GPT, because someone was I asked what are the best and safest investments in Sweden. What are the best and safest investments in Denmark? What are the best and safest investments in Uganda? And all of them were talking about bonds. So I said, okay, maybe I should talk about bonds today. In Denmark, I think the highest bond that gives the highest yield is, I think, 7%, which is not much. Even in Sweden, so you get 7%, and that 7% has to be taxed. But then I looked at Uganda. This is an auction calendar that comes out, is published every beginning of a financial year. So when the Minister of Finance reads the budget, I think the same day or the day after, they release the auction budget for the next 12 months. So this is the calendar, and the reason why I thought it was important to bring up, to avoid brokers. Banks are brokers. So if you go and buy a bond from the bank, they are being a broker, and they'll cut a lot of they'll charge you, and they'll give you bonds that are not to your advantage. But if you have a calendar, you can see. In fact, I should connect my phone onto, because these dates are not very clear. I'll connect my phone so that you can see clear. I'm not a government. I don't work for the government of Uganda. Please forgive me if it looks like that. Forgive me if it looks like that. Forgive me if it looks like that. But I'm not. I don't work for the government of Uganda. But I promise you, Swedes, Danes, Americans, they are going to our countries and investing. They are investing.
Because the interest is
they are investing. Good. These NGOs, they invest in our governments, and so I'm going to show you the calendar, how it looks like. It should be readable from my phone. I'll look it up. It's I think I'll have to turn the screen this way, maybe.
As my husband is fixing that, when you talk about government bonds, is when a private person lends money to the government. So for example, you have saved, let's say, 50,000 Swedish kroners. So what you do is you lend the government of Sweden that 50,000 Swedish kroners with an interest, because they give you an interest. So they tell you, lend that 50,000 for maybe 10 years. And for 10 years, we can give you, like they said, an interest of 7%. The 7% means it is 7% of 50,000 Swedish kroners, which means you get that. I don't know, in Sweden, I don't know how often they do a payout, but in Uganda, they do a payout every 6 months. So if you have put in, let's say, in shillings, 100 million shillings, it means there is a bond that we recently bought at 15%? 15%. And that means that if, for example, you have put 100 million shillings in the bond, it means the government is every 6 months is going to be paying you 15% of that. Of course, after the money comes, then they tax it. How much percentage in tax? 10.
Depending on the length of the bond. Depending on the length of the bond, they'll tax you. If the bond is below 10 years, they'll tax you 20%. Which is still lower than the taxation rate here in Sweden or Denmark. So they have bonds of different lengths in terms of years. So there is 2 year bonds. So okay, you can. Okay. Okay, we are running out of time. But anyways, they have So they have bonds that range from 2 to 15 years, maybe 20. Of course, every investment is risky. There is a risk in every investment. No investment is 100% risk-free. This one is safe, but it's not risk-free. It's not absolutely risk-free. It's one of the safest investments. You'll get the payouts will land on your bank account directly. No one knows apart from you and the ones you've told that the money is coming in. No middleman. Of course, the banks will facilitate, but there's no middleman. So the calendar, the reason why this calendar is very important, that you know, for instance, on the 20th, let me see, we are in the month of March 2025. Let me see. This is March. Okay, March 12th, which was what do we have today? Is the 15th. So there was a treasury bill on the 12th, and then on the 19th of March, which is I think Thursday next week. Is it Thursday next week? So there will be a bill. Let me see. Yeah, there will be a bond of, I think this is a 2-year bond, 14%. Is this a screenshot? Oh, of course it's here. I keep on thinking it's touch. Sorry. Okay. So the calendar helps you avoid using brokers, because you know when the bond is coming up, you can call the bank and say, oh, this bond here, I want to buy it. On this specific day, you call a week. Of course, you use their treasury department, and then you tell them, I have this amount of money.
Treasury department of your bank.
Of your bank. Of
then,
your bank.
Then they are the ones that work with, for example, maybe Bank of Sweden or Bank of Uganda, because it's only the government bank that issues bonds and bills. So your bank works on your behalf.
Exactly. It depends if you,
Depends
which bonds. If you're buying Swedish bonds, then it has to be a Ugandan bank in Uganda, a Swedish bank in Sweden, Danish bank in Denmark. So the calendar, why the calendar is important is that you avoid brokers, you avoid buying bonds from banks. This one you buy directly from the government. That means there are no hidden charges, and you get good. For us, our strategy has been, it's not a touch thing, but for us, our strategy has been to buy the highest yielding bond. That is, for this year, the highest one is 15.8%. Last year, the highest was 16%. So for this coming year, which starts in June of this year, we don't know, but we usually go for the highest one, and we've done it. We're going to 3 years now. So, and that means that every 6 months they will give you, for instance, if you invest 100 million, that means they'll give you for 15%. Let's say we don't include taxes. For 15%, they will give you 15 for a year, but they pay in they pay biannually. That is every 6 months. So the 15M will be paid in bits of every 6 months. So that means if it's 1M, if you have 100, if you've invested 100 million, you'll get 7.5 after 6 months. Then the following the following 6 months you get another 7.5, and that will happen for the duration of the bond. If the bond is 10 years, you get 15 million every year for the next 10 years.
I think to also emphasize that like, for example, those of us who live here, sometimes it's hard when you invest in a business. You have to, you have to depend on people to help you in that business. If it is apartments, you depend on these people who help you, with collect the money and all those things. But with government bonds, you are dealing between you and the bank. It's you. You're not paying anyone to help you with that. So which means you skip the headache of calling, where is my money? Oh, but someone died and I gave it there. Oh, my children need school fees. So those things, because that is why we become so discouraged to grow wealth, those of us who are immigrants, Because you start a business and someone steals from you. Yes, Josephine. I think we should.
Hello? Yes. In case you choose to save your money through to invest through the government bonds, how do you send large sums of money back home? How do you usually do it? Because,
There are a number of ways of doing it. You can send that money directly from your bank here to your to a Ugandan bank. If you should have a bank account in Uganda, so you can send directly from your bank account, but it's extra charge. Yeah, and then banks are in the business of charging you as much as possible. So they will charge you and then give you the money. But anyway, you're investing. So I normally don't think about the charges. I think about what the outcome will be in the long term. So you can either do that as in bank to bank, or you use World Remit, Remitly. These are the third party. Yeah.
But it's important for you to open up an account in whichever African country you want to invest in, so that you can send that money from your because usually they don't ask so many questions here. If your account from Africa has the same names as the account here, because they know it's your money, you are just saving it. They don't even care if you're paying taxes on it here, because it is your money. But if you're using a different account, then it is in other names, then it raises questions. So you have to have an account. Isaac had a question.
Yeah, when you started, you said it's not completely risk-free. What are some of the risks someone should be aware of before they venture out to invest in such, to make such an investment?
When I first started investing in this, I was like, I wanted to tell everyone, please, 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 please. But then I realized, if something happens and people lose their money, they come back to you. You're responsible. But anyways, it can happen. You can invest in land. You can invest in a business. You can invest in. When it comes to investment, all investments have risks. You have to be able to take risks. As far as bonds are concerned, they can be if there is, but even if because you're giving money to the government, even if there is a war, it's so safe that even if there is a war, the government of Uganda, even in this case, most of us are Ugandans here, but even in Congo, the government in Congo, even if it changed, they still have to pay. No, according to international rules, they still have to pay. Because government is business. If you're known for not paying, you won't run a business. People will not give you credit. So as a rule of thumb, governments always pay. They always have to pay their debt, no matter what. So because as a business, you need credit. So they will not pay teachers, they will not pay doctors, they will not pay everyone, but they will pay their.
They have to pay you.
They will have to pay you. So it's safe in that sense, but they could default. Yeah, of course the interest, but if you buy a bond and it's 15%, that 15% never changes. It is consistent. But of course, if a government defaults, it has happened. I think it happened in Ghana.
Yeah.
But Africa's 54 countries, all governments issue bonds. All governments, they issue bonds. But I think Ghana, in South America, I think there was Argentina. Very few countries have defaulted, but still, even in defaulting, they always come back and pay. They may say, give us a year or 2 or 3, we are going to come back and pay. So bonds are safe in that sense, and for us who don't like to build businesses and deal with people, this thing, You know, people are not to be trusted sometimes. So if you've had issues with people trying to help you with businesses, steal from you, this one, no one is going to steal from you, and your money comes in. It's safe. No one will break into your account. Yeah, Musumba.
Mine was not really a question. I just wanted to comment about these things of when you speak about bonds. If you are skipping brokers, you should have enough knowledge and know exactly where the funds are going. Because, okay, I'm a bit familiar with in Sweden, I think they call them fonda. Yeah, I'm very familiar with that. I myself invest in fonda. And the advantage of using brokers is that brokers, they are specialists in this, and they put a ceiling. You know, they put a ceiling whereby if your loss is coming to that ceiling, there's a way you easily find out. Yeah, in one way or the other. Either they send you a letter at home or they notify you. So in your case, if maybe you have enough knowledge in that, which makes it a bit easier. Especially now, also I will encourage those who are in Sweden who are doing fonda to go into technology, buy fondas that are investing in technology like AI and all that. Yeah, it's a good one, I would say. And also I wanted to comment about the risks. The risks are very, very low that it's easy to find out. But if you're investing in, let's say, because I'm confusing, government funds it stocks? Okay, thank you. So now if you invest in stocks, I tried that thing and there's a period I was getting from Tesla like 500 krono every day. And then all of a sudden, boom, I'm on minus, I can't mention. And it took just 2 days for that to happen. So with funds and fonda, you'll be having 1% minus for like 2 weeks. And you'll be like, this 1% is red in 2 weeks. I think this thing is going to go down. You take out your money. Yeah. That's the advantage of doing it here. I don't know how it works in Africa. Because here you control. You can even go and see, today I made 5,000 profit. You take out 1,000. And then the next week you get back your 1,000, you know. Sorry. Yeah. On the fonda.
Richard has a session soon. After, yeah, so Richard is going to have his session after Pastor Jeff. And then...
My question is very, very, very fast, Mr. Apollo. Yes. In case I've invested 100 million in Uganda, and I want to get it back, like I'm tired of that. That's thing. A good question. So how do I get it back? Because there's a risk that I'm investing 100 and I'm getting this 15, and then after 2 years I can't get my 100. So meaning now that in 2 years they have taken my they have given me 30, they have given my 70. So I'm tired of it, of this business. Yeah, because every year they pay 15 interest, and then after 2 years that's 30, right? But they still have my 100. So I'm tired of after 1 year. I'm tired of what? I want to get my 100 back. Do I get my 100 back, or is it hassle?
Of course, you can get it.
Yeah, what can I get it like when I want it, or it's some kind of what secretary?
Yeah, you can. Of course, you deal with the treasury department. You tell them, I want to sell my bond. There's a big bond. It's called a secondary market. That's why the auction calendar is primary market. That is like selling mangoes. Let me put from the farm, buying mangoes directly from the farm versus buying mangoes directly from the market. If you go to the farm, you get a good price as a buyer. This is the calendar you're going to the farm. But if you're going to the market, the prices are a bit high. So the secondary market exists for people who want to sell their bonds. It's called a secondary market.
If I sell, if I use 100, the secondary market, I have my 100 million, and I mean when I sell, how much money do I get? Do I get 100 plus or minus? I mean, just some kind of a.
It's usually.
Yeah, just a rough
Okay,
average.
okay.
Yes.
For instance, one of the reasons why I usually go for the high-paying bonds, those bonds are very what's the word? What's the word? They are sought after. If the bond pays highly, it's sought after. So that means it's expensive. So if you want to sell your bond and get your money back, it will take a very short period of time to have it sold, and then you get your. For instance, if it's 100 million, you don't get 100 million back because they have to. The calculations will always include the losses that you make. That is the payments that you're going to give up. So they'll give you your principal, which is 100, and then there's more money that will be added onto that. So you sell your bond. Maybe you bought it 100. You might get 120.
Okay.
Or maybe 130.
On a good days.
If it's a high paying, there's a word I'm trying to look for. If it's a high paying, no. If premium. That's the word. It's a premium thing. It's premium. If it's a high paying bond, it's premium. So people are going to give you more than the surface value of it. So if the surface is 100, they'll give you maybe 120, 130, and so on. Because it's then it matters that you buy a good bond. If you just walk into a bank and say, I want a bond, they'll look for the bad bonds and sell to you. That's why you don't have to deal with banks as brokers. You go to the bank.
Like recently.
To the government.
Recently, I think last year, around May, there was a very good bond that came, which was 16 or 15%, and we bought it for 100 million, but we paid 120. So the person who sold it to us got 120 instead of 100 because it's a premium.
We bought it from the government.
From the government, but the government sells it on your behalf. So the person, instead of getting the 100 they put in, they got 120 because it's premium, so we had to pay a price. So we had to pay extra 20 million for that. So when you sell your bond, that is sometimes depending on how good it is.
Joseph has a question.
It wasn't really.
Input.
Question, it was a comment to what Nelson said. I think you were confusing two different things. The fund are the funds. They are completely different from what you're talking about. Because the funds you're more or less into trading. I mean, it shoots up and down.
These are obligations. I think you call them obligations even in Sweden. Obligation?
Yeah.
They call them obligation in Denmark. So I think they call them obligation in Sweden as well. Yeah. So.
If there is no other question, yes.
Hi. Sometimes I get scared of being so wealthy. And this is the point.
Valid, yeah.
It's a valid point.
I remember when I was working in a hotel in Africa, I was paid well, at least at that way when you come from Africa. We use also to steal some money in the way in the hotel. We have our ways of making orders to be delivered, and we are paid, and you make a deal with a reception, and the money is not recorded. So I would leave work with 500, 600 we could share, and I would be making every day that money apart from my salary. And I remember the lifestyle that I had was too much. before, because of course I wasn't saved, so I would spend it in the club, buy new clothes, and every day, ngomanyi ochikuva. So when I got saved, I have this proverb that I read. I don't remember the chapter, but Solomon says, "Oh God, don't make me so poor, for I will steal and cause a reproach on your name, and don't make me so wealthy, for I will forget you, and I will be lost in wealth." And then when you go to the context of Matthew 6, the teaching of possession and money, it has the way that it warns us of making an idol, of chasing wealth. But still, when I studied Abraham, he was wealthy in cattle and servants, so he was a very, very wealthy man. But still, when I read Ecclesiastes, I see Solomon still having some remarks that he gives about wealth and how we can get lost. So I'm asking now this question, like, how do I get that balance of not get so lost in wealth, but still make wealth in the spiritual way that would glorify God?
I think as born again people, we have to understand that it is the will of God for us to be wealthy. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children and his children's children. There is no way you can leave an inheritance to your children and your grandchildren without having wealth. So it is God's will for us to be wealthy. We have to get that we have to understand that. And number two, there is what they say is not a biblical saying, but they say that wealth only magnifies who you are. So if you have been a person who has pride when you are poor, when you get wealthy, you're still going to be prideful. You're still going to be arrogant. You're still not going to respect people. But if your character is the character that the Word of God tells us it should be, money is only going to magnify that. So I'll give you an example of my husband. You all see he's a humble person, right? When we go to Uganda, the people he pays, he wants to hang out with the people he pays. And he wants to be like one of them, not like, there's that false humility, that he's the kind of a person who just does not, he hides behind everything because he does not want to show who he is. Not because he's insecure, no, because for him money does not change him. Amen. So if, I don't want to do Rugambo on you, but when you look at his bank account and the car he drives, you would say, why are you driving that car, right? Because for him, having money does not mean you go and buy a Tesla and flash off and, increase the music and then the whole, that character. So it magnifies who you are. Because we have to understand it is God's will for us to create wealth. But also, we have to do it under the guidance of the Holy Spirit. We have to read the Bible and understand what does the Bible say about wealth. To make an honest living. And it's only you're only going to be blessed when you do things the way God wants you to do them. So read the Word of God, ask the Holy Spirit for guidance. How can I do this and it does not change me? How can I make wealth and it does not change me? You understand? Do not be scared. That's the issue with Christians. We think that being poor will take us to heaven. No. Being poor is going to make you to go to hell because you're going to be sensitive all the time. You're annoyed at people who are rich, Why are they dressed like that? And now you're sinning because you are envious. You understand? So wealth that magnifies only who we are already. But the love of money also still is a character. Yeah.
Can I add to that? Is this thing on? No, the camera. Is it on? But anyways, I'll say it. I'll say it. Current politics. Donald Trump in the White House. You know, the last 20 years or maybe 25 years of American politics have been controlled by people, wealthy people, that have imposed a certain agenda on all of us. And the way they did that, they had money. They went into these government branches, they took over those places, and they imposed things on all of us. Things that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are trying to change. Whether that comes to pass, but at least they are trying. Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because of their billionaire status, they are going to hopefully use money to change the things that are being imposed on the rest of the world. Because this camera is on, like I won't say something, but you guys know what I mean. There are certain things that are being imposed on us because the American government is maybe the most powerful government in the world, and it was taken over by certain people that are using that government to impose all kinds of things on all of us. And because we don't have the power those people have, we haven't been able to do anything about it. We've just accepted it and said, Lord, help us. So, no?
Donald Trump. Richard, sorry.
Please.
Yeah? When you finish, Richard is going to close with what he's going to close with.
I wanted to make one remark on what you spoke about, how you connected racism and poverty. This is actually very, very, very true, because I was reading a book, and this guy who wrote the book, I forgot because I read it like 7 years ago when I was still in university. And this guy said that they asked him what is racism, and he said in his book that racism, the main cause of racism is actually poverty. And he gave an example of China. China was the most discriminated. The Chinese faced the most discrimination and racism if you compare to the rest of the world. But today, they are the most included people in the world. Like a Chinese could go to the US and sit with a white man, and they would think he's the most smartest, and you know. So and he connects slavery. He said if Africans were rich by then, had wealth and could catch up with the capitalism, nobody could have, their kingdoms wouldn't have sold them, because the kingdom have enough wealth and the people have the wealth. You can't just sell, you couldn't sell them. So I just wanted to say that was a powerful point, because we live here thinking that we are just being hated for our skin color, but it's because of the image they have of us from back then, and they see on TV we are poor people. So who would want to hang around the poor person? Yes. Thank you.
That's true. Sorry, guys. I know we were supposed to finish at 4, but you guys, we started an hour late, so you have to give some time to reach.